Hello and welcome to Pushing Back, Ukraine Daily Brief. As the war enters its 814th day, these are the main developments from the past 24 hours. Russia has lost approximately 491,080 troops in Ukraine since the beginning of the war, the General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces reported. The number, which has not been independently verified, includes 1,210 casualties over the past day. According to the released Ukrainian figures, Russia lost 13 tanks, 43 armored combat vehicles, 36 artillery systems, 1 air defense system, 35 drones, 1 military jet, 3 cruise missiles, 65 vehicles, and 6 pieces of special equipment. The update from the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. There were 101 combat engagements. The enemy launched a total of 15 missile and 70 airstrikes and using 452 drone strike and 2,843 attacks on positions of Ukrainian troops and various settlements. In its latest intelligence update, the UK's Ministry of Defence reports. The Ukrainian military attacked Russian military targets in Crimea on May 14, destroying parts of an air defense system and potentially 2 fighter jets. This is the latest in a series of successful strikes against Russian air defenses in Crimea over the past month. These attacks are weakening Russia's ability to defend its airspace in the region and may force them to spread out their forces to avoid further losses. This will likely make it harder and more expensive for Russia to maintain air patrols over Crimea. In its latest intelligence update, the Institute for the Study of War. Russian President Vladimir Putin framed Russian offensive operations in northern Kharkiv Oblast as part of Russian efforts to create a buffer zone to protect Russian border areas from Ukrainian strikes, confirming ISW's previous assessments. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that Ukrainian forces have stabilized the front in northern Kharkiv Oblast and that Russian forces have not reached Ukraine's concrete and most powerful line of defense in the area. Russian forces will likely be able to stretch Ukrainian forces along a wide front and fix Ukrainian troops in the international border area even as the tempo of Russian offensive operations in northern Kharkiv Oblast slows. Russian forces reportedly leveraged notable electronic warfare (EW) capabilities to support tactically significant gains during the first days of their limited offensive operation in northern Kharkiv Oblast. Senior NATO military commanders confirmed ISW's prior assessments that Russian forces do not have sufficient forces to achieve a strategic breakthrough in Ukraine. Ukrainian forces conducted a series of large-scale aerial and naval drone strikes against Russian energy and port infrastructure in Krasnodar Krai and occupied Crimea on the night of May 16 to 17. U.S. officials reiterated the White House's unwillingness to support Ukraine's use of U.S.-provided weapons in strikes against military targets in Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin attempted to further known Russian information operations intended to directly undermine Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's legitimacy as president. Russian President Vladimir Putin attended the annual Russian-Chinese Expo and Forum on Interregional Cooperation and visited Harbin Polytechnic University during the second and last day of his trip to the People's Republic of China, PRC, on May 17. Ukrainian and Western sources continue to report that Russian forces are committing war crimes in newly occupied areas of Kharkiv Oblast. Russian forces recently marginally advanced near Avdiivka. In Zelensky's nightly video he covered several points. Firstly, he reported on the situation at the front, focusing on Kharkiv and Donetsk directions. There are ongoing counterattacks against the occupier to thwart their expansion. Secondly, he held detailed conversation about restoring Ukraine's energy sector after Russian strikes. There were efforts to develop a new energy sector resilient. Lastly, he spoke about ensuring Russia faces consequences for its actions, and his gratitude to those producing drones and weapons. Thanks for following today's updates. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. We'll return tomorrow with the latest news on the ongoing conflict.